morning, good afternoon, and in case I forget, good evening to all truth seekers, spiritual people, and lovely souls. This Sunday, the 3rd of March, at the Theosophical Society in Pretoria at 5 Umgazi Road, we will be having another movie day experience starting at 2:30 p.m. The movie we'll be watching is the beautiful, mind-blowing, thought-provoking, mysterious, dreamy movie called Vanilla Sky, Awakening from the Dream of Life. Come along and enjoy. All welcome. Open your eyes. The film we'll be watching is the lovely and beautiful movie called Vanilla Sky. It's a 2001 science fiction psychological thriller directed by Cameron Crowe. The movie is based on a 1997 Spanish film called Open Your Eyes. And what's so incredible about this movie is that the same actor, Penelope Cruz, who acts in Vanilla Sky, is the same actress that acted the same role in Open Your Eyes. So what's the movie about? Let's look at the narrative. It's about this car accident that David, the main character, has. The main character, David Ames, played by Tom Cruise, is a young, flamboyant, charismatic, wealthy young man. But David lives a loose life, a worldly life. And he upsets one of his girlfriends named Julie, played by Cameron Diaz. Julie finds out that David is having an affair with a new lady, a new girlfriend called Sophia. And that character is played by Penelope Cruz. Julie is filled with jealousy and anger. And so she drives her car off a bridge with David sitting next to her as a passenger. She dies in the accident. It's a horrible car accident. She dies, but David survives, yet his face is horribly disfigured. But that's just the surface story. The narrative gets much more intriguing the more you watch the movie. This is those movies that you have to watch a few times to get the real telos message of the movie. Also, there are some profound statements, wise sayings that are made in this movie. Julie makes a profound statement when she's in the car with David and she's angry with him and she's shouting at him because she's jealous about him having an affair with another lady. And she makes this profound statement. She says, when you sleep with someone, your body makes a promise whether you do or not. It's powerful, wise statements like that this movie is full of. The movie is filled with these profound statements. And most of these wise sayings come from the two women characters, the two main women characters in the movie, i.e. Julie and Sophia. And by the way, Sophia is actually the Greek word for wisdom. So a wise woman is saying wise things. And another interesting, very intriguing thing that Sophia says to David is, I will see you in another life when we are both cats. I thought that was quite cute. So the director here is emphasizing the aspect of the sacred female knowledge, which is a very Gnostic idea. What makes this movie so unique and special is the variety of popular music used in the movie. One could say it's a collage of sugary pop culture music, a lot of it all mixed together in this movie. Brian Wilson, the co-founder of the Beach Boys, his music is also used, as well as his voice is used in this movie. Interesting is that Paul McCartney from the Beatles actually wrote and recorded a unique song for this movie called Vanilla Sky. Additional songs featured include Radiohead's song Everything in Its Right Place, and also an Icelandic group. The music that's played in the last scene, the end scene of the movie, is done by an Icelandic group called Sevenja Angla from Sugar Ross. Life is but a dream. So the real deeper subject matter of this movie is all about the fact that this life that we live in, this three-dimensional world, is actually an illusion. The movie explores the Buddhistic view that life is actually a lucid dream. While we live out our lives on this plane of existence, we are in fact having a lucid dream. Life is not really about the physical environment you find yourself in, but rather about how you perceive the world. And we all perceive the world differently. It's all about perception. Life is about perception. It is your perception that creates the real world around you. Reality is therefore fluid and can be shaped and molded by one's perception. A lucid dream provides you with the perfect laboratory for exploring the nature of the mind. For everything you experience in the dream consists only of manifestations of awareness. According to Buddhism, consciousness has two defining characteristics. On the one hand, we have luminosity, and on the other hand, we have cognizance. On the one hand, we could say we have clarity, and on the other hand, we could say we have knowing. It is the two aspects of consciousness. What is revealed to you, that is clarity, can also be interpreted by you, that is perception. The dream of life. Vanilla Sky is all about the dream of life. Life is but a dream. In fact, in one scene when Julie is talking to David on the phone, there is music in the background. It's actually a nursery rhyme, and you can hear the tune of "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream." And that's what the movie is about. Life is but a dream. We are living a dream state. So Vanilla Sky also deals with the cycle of life. We live many lives. We are in fact in a perpetual cycle of repeating one life after the next. And the way the film metaphorically describes the reality of this life and what happens after death is by using and describing and giving us the whole idea of cryonics, the technology of cryonics. Cryonics is when they take a person that's about to die and they put him in a coffin, a fridge. They put him in a fridge and they freeze him, hoping that in the future the technology will be there to cure the disease, whatever disease that person might have. They've done it to Walt Disney. They've put his head into ice. Hopefully in the future they can revive the head and put it onto some other body. Anyway, that's cryonics. So the movie is about cryonics because that's what happens to David. He gets put on ice for 150 years. So that's what the film does to us, the viewer. It keeps us in a state of guessing. We're not quite sure what is real and what is the dream world. So if we look at the plot, we see that David, like I said, was involved in a horrible car accident that disfigured his face. His face is so badly damaged that reconstructive surgery cannot be performed successfully. So what David does is, David opts for Life Extension. It's a company that runs this cryonics technology. They called Life Extension, LE, in the hopes that sometime in the future the technology will be available so that his face can be fixed up properly. So David lies in this frozen state in his cryonics chamber for a period of 150 years. But he's not unconscious and unaware of the passing of time. Oh no. While he's lying there in his fridge, in his cold room, he has the ability, the Life Extension team give him the ability to experience a virtual world, like a dream world. David can experience a virtual reality that is like a dream world. So while you are frozen, you can live out an almost fantasy type life in your mind. They have the ability to do that with this technology. And so in that sense, the movie deals with this whole idea of artificial reality, of virtual reality. So the movie deals with this idea of a virtual world. And two other movies that also deal with this virtual world theme is, of course, The Matrix and Total Recall, the movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the first one. They made a second one afterwards as well. This company name, Life Extension, in the movie Vanilla Sky is very interesting because Life Extension is tied to the god Saturn. The cryonics technology is called Life Extension. In other words, LE, the acronym LE, Life Extension. Now, if you swap those two letters around, it is L. If you say LE backwards, it is L. Now, this is interesting because L is the ancient name for the god of Saturn. Saturn is the god of the Matrix. Saturn is the demiurge god of Gnosticism. The demiurge is the craftsman, the artisan who shapes the material reality. It is the demiurge god. The demiurge is like a false god. The demiurge is not an omnipotent being. The demiurge can only exercise power over material reality according to forms it did not create. So the demiurge created the artificial matrix virtual world that we live in. That's according to Gnosticism. Oh yes, this movie also deals with the idea of Christmas and ties it to Saturn, to Saturnalia. Another detail that the director puts into the movie is the fact that David is placed into his cryonic chamber on Christmas Day. Christmas is the ancient Roman festival called Saturnalia, a festivity that pays homage to the god of Saturn. This is an ancient Roman holiday that honors Saturn, the god of seed sowing, and it celebrates the promise of spring and harvest. The whole idea of the 25th of December, the winter solstice, is the celebration of the dying and rising sun. The winter solstice marks the end of the cycle of the death of winter and the celebration of new life in spring. The world is springing back to life. That's where the name spring comes from. The fact that life is springing back. Now this movie gets really interesting, and some profound messages come out of this movie. We are indeed batteries, consuming life energy. Yes, just like we use batteries in a torch to light up our house when it's load shedding, the gods use the energy that comes off our bodies as an energy source. They use it as a source of sustenance. And in fact, that's the very reason why the artificial virtual world was created in the first place. The reason why El, the god of Saturn, created the artificial world we live in is to use the energy that the system generates as a form of sustenance. They eat our energy. They eat our vital life force. The deity eats the energy that comes off our bodies. And that's why we have this famous painting of Saturn eating his children, because it has this idea of finding sustenance in the energy of people. Yes, lush energy. This energy, or vital life force, the Easterners call it chi, the chi force. Every living soul on earth generates this life energy. It is our very life force. And the slang word for it is lush. It is called lush. Lush is a word coined by some German guy that was working with this energy, trying to capture this energy in a container. It is our life energy, lush. And it is what these demonic entities, let's call them demonic entities, the archons in Gnosticism, these demonic entities use this energy as a form of sustenance. Lush is very valuable. It is highly sought after by these entities. And we should do everything in our power to prevent them from siphoning this energy off us. So, if we can understand that it's all about lush energy, that this whole world runs on lush energy, that this whole artificial matrix is to produce and obtain this vital, very important, very sought after substance called lush energy. This lush energy is metaphorically described in the Matrix movie when Morpheus holds up a battery. Have I got a battery here? He holds up a battery and shows the battery to Neo and says to Neo, this is what you are. You are a battery. You give the robots energy. Your brain gives the robots energy to run all their machines. So Morpheus holds up the battery and explains to Neo that this is what the robots are after. They place humans in the Matrix movie, they place all the humans in these water coffins. All the people's consciousness is inside the Matrix. They're living out their lives in a Matrix, an artificial world, but their real physical bodies are in these water coffins. And while they're lying there in their water coffins, their minds are given an artificial world to live in. And while they're lying there in the water coffins, while they lie there in the water coffins, they siphon off this brain energy and use the energy to power the artificial intelligence that runs the Matrix. This stealing of energy by these entities doesn't only happen in one lifespan, in one of your lives, but it actually happens again and again and again. It is perpetual, because every time you come back into the Matrix after dying, and through the process of reincarnation you come back into the matrix, the whole process starts all over again, and they begin to siphon energy off you again. This is what's called the trap of reincarnation. And let's talk a bit about the suffering in the world. Have you noticed that everywhere you go in this world, most people are going through tremendous suffering? Most people are poverty stricken. Most people are at a wit's end and are going through very hard times. It's only the few that live in luxury. Why is that? Actually, it is by design. It has been orchestrated that way. Because the more a person suffers, the more a person goes through agony, the more fear generated inside humanity, the more louche energy, the more potent the louche energy is. And so these entities actually create this environment of suffering so that they can gain and produce more of this louche energy that they so desire. This perpetual suffering is by design. Not only is this reality that we live in an artificial matrix, but when we die and we leave the confines of this artificial world behind, even then we don't escape the matrix. We simply get put into another virtual world, a temporary in-between place. Let's call it a waiting room. Now, something does happen at this stage. In this waiting room, when you're waiting for your next life, at this stage, after death, in the waiting room, we have the potential to truly escape from the cube prison of artificial reality. And some do escape. Very few, but some do escape. And this is what's called ascension. Now, the very few escape. The very few have the privilege of ascending, of experiencing ascension. That means completely escaping out of the cube prison of reality. But most people after death are coerced to fall back down again into the three-dimensional plane of existence. And so we are caught in this perpetual cycle of repetitive lives. This cycle is orchestrated and designed by spiritual entities to perpetuate and produce an endless supply of louche energy which they feed off. So they bring us back into the prison-like world again and again and again, so that they can feed off us like energy vampires, sucking our very life essence out of us. It's the valley of suffering. I call it the valley of suffering. The situation I've described to you is actually worse than what it is. Because in order to generate more potent and more powerful louche energy, chi energy, these beings have to put us in a state of constant suffering, agony, and especially fear, the emotion of fear. Most people on earth, all 7.8 billion of them, are not having a good time. Most people are struggling just to keep their heads above water. Most people live in absolute squalor and poverty. And this horrible state of affairs is actually done on purpose. This horrible state of affairs, orchestrated by unseen entities that create this unbearable environment with one purpose and one purpose alone in mind: to consume the vital energy force which resides within humanity. Suffering, pain, and poverty, and especially the emotion of fear, is used to release more potent form of this loose energy. The more afraid people are, the more energy and the more potent the energy is that comes off us. And so basically, we are living in a lush farm. That's what it's all about. We are living in this lush farm. We are a food source to these godlike entities that live outside of the confines of the 3D matrix world. Let that percolate in our minds for a while. And at the end of the movie, we have this beautiful scene with Tom Cruise, who is now David, on the roof of this very tall building. He gets there by going up in a very fast lift to the top of the building with tech support, a godlike creature. It's very interesting that there is this idea of going up and there's this idea of falling down, going up and falling down. And so that end scene, we need to talk about it on Sunday and get a proper understanding of what's happening with that dialogue between the tech support and David. But yes, it's this idea of the Jacob's ladder, of ascending and descending. You see, the idea of going up in a lift is this idea of escaping the matrix, going from lower dimension to higher dimensions, escaping the matrix. And then also the idea of falling down is coming back down into the 3D matrix. And so every life cycle we go through, there's a going up and there's a coming down perpetually through the process of reincarnation. In the movie, we see David escaping the matrix by going up in a lift, and the way he enters the real world is by falling down. This is an allegorical way of describing how one escapes and enters the matrix. And you can see this in various movies, like the 1998 movie City of Angels, played by Nicolas Cage. The angel falls, the angel played by the actor Nicolas Cage. The angel falls from a high tower to enter our dimension and become human. And he wants to become human. This angel wants to become human so that he can be with the woman he loves. And so once again, it's this idea of falling. In fact, in the Bible, in Jude 6, it says, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, the higher dimensions, but left their own habitation in the 7th and 8th dimensions, he hath reserved into everlasting chains under darkness." Supernatural beings that are able to come down into our reality. And they do it by falling. And here in Vanilla Sky, we see David falling from one state of existence, dimension, into another. And in this case, falling out of the matrix, out of his dream state, back into the real world, because he tells tech support he wants to live in the real world. So, very interesting movie. We're going to watch it on Sunday. Please come along. There'll be some nice food and hors d'oeuvres again. Wonderful fellowship. So please come along. Bye-bye. Have a good week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward 'cause we can't find reverse. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it, not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it, not as we know it. Captain.
There's Klingons
across the universe.